I'm willing to be exposed to coronavirus for the same reason that a lot of the other people on the front lines are willing to take the risk and expose themselves to coronavirus, which is the chance to save lives.
When I think of myself personally, and I think of this time in my life, I want to be doing something useful.
5 months ago, I would be skeptical of the level of risk that we're willing as a society to put on people for some to benefit. But I think a pandemic changes that calculation.
The idea of a challenge trial is you deliberately infect volunteers and test the vaccine on them. And that lets you move a lot faster under a lot closer observation than usually what you would do in a clinical trial, where you vaccinate people and then let them live their regular lives and a small percentage of them get infected. So a challenge trial might involve 100 volunteers, whereas a traditional trial might involve 5,000 volunteers. Our goal is to advocate on behalf of people who want to participate in challenge trials. There's not any sort of active collaborations with a vaccine manufacturer. We're an independent group. We represent the challenge volunteers, and our goal is to kind of create the preconditions so that if challenge trials are going to be useful, if they could save a few months, a month, if they could even get vaccine development one day sooner, we need to be working now to make them available as soon as possible. And challenge trials themselves are not necessarily controversial. They've been used for a lot of things like flu and malaria, dengue fever, typhoid, cholera, a number of other things. But what makes challenge trials different for COVID is that it's a potentially deadly disease, even for young, healthy people who'd be participating, but there's not currently a proven treatment yet.
I have family that is very vulnerable. And so obviously if I had to choose one of us to get coronavirus, it would be me, because it's relatively low risk for young, healthy people. Not to say it's no risk.
Human challenge trials have a long and complicated history. They've been conducted for hundreds of years, and they've led to enormous public health improvements in some cases, but they've also led to really unethical abuses. This history is why today these studies are done in really controlled fashion and with a lot of oversight. The biggest challenge with coronavirus is there's a lot that we don't know about the disease. Usually with a human challenge study, you would want to know the people who are involved in the study are likely to be safe in the course of the study, or that there's a treatment that can be given to rescue them if they do become sick. And right now, we don't know enough to have that confidence. If we wait a few months, it's likely that there's a lot more that we'll learn. It may also be that we find a treatment that prevents serious complications from the disease. And if either of those things happen, then we could feel a lot more confident about enrolling people in a challenge study of the novel coronavirus.
You're risking people's lives. And you're giving people an illness intentionally. And that's obviously something that the doctors take really seriously. It's something that anyone takes really seriously. Based on our best current understanding, the risks for the young, healthy people that would be participating in this trial are roughly on par with the risk of dying during pregnancy or during kidney donation. And if you look at just the numbers in New York, of the deaths between 18 and 45, more than 80% of those people had pre-existing conditions. So again, it's a significant risk, but it's also a risk that's a level that we're able to accept in other circumstances.
They've talked about narrowing down the pool of people who want to volunteer to people who are young and healthy and have low risks. But another question that's come up is people who are likely to be exposed through their daily operations already. And that would mean that more of the, quote, essential workers would end up participating. And so exposing essential workers to even more risk doesn't seem necessarily just to me.
I've talked to my parents and they're both extremely supportive. They're happy that I am using the opportunity of being young and healthy and low risk to do some good and help some people, hopefully. I've talked to other people I'm close to who are not as excited. just given the scale of this pandemic, I would much rather that I'm the person who gets sick than like 100 other strangers' grandmas. I think there are some rare cases where a disease is causing so much death and destruction that something like this that would normally not be ethical becomes ethical, because you have to weigh it against what happens if you don't do it.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.